Peace, good evening. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, coming at you live from my new channel, Behold. With that, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Make sure my stream's working before I continue. I believe it is. I believe it is. Yeah, there we go. Levels are good. Levels are good. Uh, Wanted to talk about some of the stuff happening around the world, mostly in America today. I mean, like again, as far as world news goes, the Venezuela situation is still the same. Um, Trump, as far as commentary goes, in terms of international news, he did take shots at the country of Somalia, and that was more in reference to the mass migration of Somalians that are in America illegally, particularly in the state of Minnesota, which is like the hot topic that's happening now. And I'm going to touch upon that in a minute too. But not much is happening there besides like Trump commenting on Somalia. You also have the situation in Iran. I've refrained from talking about it heavy duty because besides the fact that I first heard that a lot of the situation in Iran that's happening now, where you have large scale protest and a government that's having a issue with their population. The only thing that I had heard about Iran initially, again, was that a lot of these protests were happening because of the collapse of their currency. As far as when it first popped off, their currency did take a drop, and it kind of like correlated with the beginnings of these protests really at least ramping up, like to where it was being talked about um, on international news. The one thing with that situation is that the protests seem to be a constant, but also that the powers that be in the country of Iran have cut off like internet access or made it hard for people to do reporting live as to what's happening in that country. So that's why I refrain from giving you the grim and gory as to what's happening. I mean, the mainstream media may cover it a little something. I do see stuff on Twitter, but I'm not gonna bring that here, like because again, you know, you have people that could tell you a load of BS. Hello to you too as well. Beya B7R. Um, uh, I do want to talk about, which is one of the titles of my videos, is that Trump actually gave a speech today, and I'm not sure if this was in the same speech in which he talked to economic leaders in Detroit. I didn't watch the speech; I just watched a small clip, and that's what I'm going to cover today and give you my opinion on it. In that speech, he touched upon the fact that I believe come March of this year that a lot of these sanctuary cities, he's gonna cut off funding for them. He didn't go into details, or I didn't see any details as to what kind of funding he's gonna cut, particularly. But this has been an idea that has been tossed around. It's not like Trump says that, and you're gonna be surprised if he cuts off the funding for sanctuary cities like Los Angeles or Minneapolis, New York City, my hometown. You know, if Trump proposes that idea, nobody would be surprised. But today, I guess the one difference is that he's now suggesting a date, which is March of this year. If these cities, for these cities who have sanctuary policies to be cut off from federal fund, some sort of federal funding, and I believe that this is a good thing. I mean, what you essentially have in America is the a small number of cities that are allowing for a federal problem to emanate from just these small pockets of America, like New York City and LA and Minneapolis. You know, you have these small cities that are usually in woke states like California and New York and Minnesota that are causing for an international problem. I mean, or for a problem that affects all Americans nationally, whether that be by way of not only tax dollars, but uh, most immigrant populations are just a headache. I'm not gonna front. I mean, like, I've lived in a neighborhood, Sunset Park, Brooklyn, that saw many immigrant populations during the time in which I was there, and never was it. I mean, it and again, I'm a liberal. I was a liberal, and you always look at it as it's happening, like, oh, maybe those people, they're better off in America than whatever poor place, you name it, Mexico, China, that they came from. But after a while, it just becomes a headache. I mean, it's just like, this person's not like I am. I mean, this person's not like anybody who lives here. um Also, there's a ton of them. It's not just one or two. It's like, whole blocks that are taking over. Things are already tough as is in, from my example, Sunset Park, Brooklyn. So why is it fair for these people, or large swaths of these people, to enter into my example again, Sunset Park, Brooklyn? William Edwards C5R. I don't know who these accounts are, like whether, like, because a lot of them have these names in addition to three-letter number combinations at the end. But but thank you for coming through nevertheless. I'll take a bot if you are a bot, just as much as I'll take any sort of view. Um, so William Edwards says you're dumb. I've been told that before, frankly. But thank you for coming through nevertheless. And I also open this channel up as an open panel probably once a month, because I don't want to pay for StreamYard, and they allow, from what I remember, for channels to use their service once a month, in which they don't give any restrictions. And maybe you could come through and conversate about your feelings regarding whatever issue you're having an issue with. But nevertheless, I thank you for being here, and I don't think you're dumb. But in my neighborhood in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, the population eventually, would grow up to be to have second generation populations, which I see no problem with. But it just seems like these second generation populations are just automatically entered into the liberal army, and I didn't see that as a problem in the past. But the last, I would say 6 years or so, everything has changed. I mean, like, you got it, like, whether you're in a hiding under a rock, or whether you're out and about. I mean, like, the rules of the game have changed, not only for this country but all around the world. I mean, like, I would mark the real marker period as like the post um Wu flu, or I mean hyper flu era, 2020, in which the rules of the game have changed. The fact that the liberal army, I mean, like, just has one sort of mindset, like, when it came to the jab, when it came to, mass migration, it's just the mindset of, trying to oppose one individual. And when you have that kind of hive mind, or liberal hive mind, it's dangerous for the country to contend against. To be frank, it's not just dangerous, but it's just a pain for people that just want to live normal life, like people that don't want to be mandated, that don't want to have to live with tons of more people on top of them. And I'm more in that fray. And I think a lot of people, like in America, when you break it down to brass tacks, will probably agree with me to some capacity. So I mean, again, going back to Trump's statements in terms of definancing these liberal sanctuary cities, I'm all for it. I mean, I think if you have cities like these sanctuary cities that bring in these, somehow end up with large migrant populations. I mean, again, I happen to see my neighborhood particularly from like the late 90s attracted the second highest Chinese population in the whole like East Coast. And that happened overnight. It wasn't like they broadcasted it. It wasn't like, they rolled out some plan, like, and people were somewhat privy to what was happening. It just happened overnight. And would that plan be able to kind of like culminate in Biloxi, Mississippi or something, or, Bixby, North Dakota? I don't think so. I mean, like, but in New York City, I mean, it did happen because I was privy to it. I lived in it. My neighborhood was the neighborhood in which this happened, Sunset Park, Brooklyn, the whole 8th Avenue strip, in addition, and then eventually, like, pretty much the whole neighborhood became part of the second largest Chinese population in the East Coast, and some people say in America, you know. But that just happened overnight. And when you think about the fact, like, or when you compare it to what you see in Minnesota and in Minneapolis, where you have now uncovered, in the case of Minneapolis, that this is bought and paid for by, or helped along with, American tax dollars. With, when you see these populations receiving Social Security, Medicaid, um, other financial benefits, just for the sake of the fact that they're landing in these liberal cities, and they just happen to be of a different complexion. It's it there's no chance in which these liberal cities are financing this just on their budgets, from whether that be solely from the state or whether that be solely from the city. There's a lot of government money that is bled into financing these woke projects. And I mean, like, a lot of exposure is being thrown in the direction of the Minneapolis, Minnesota Somalian population. But again, you look at like what that population is contributing to America. Doesn't seem like much, one. But when they were confronted in recent cases, like with the Nick Shirley videos, exposure that he's been giving them of late, it's just a really cranky population. They have the woke script down pat already. Like these people would never call themselves so-called black in the past. Now all of a sudden, like, when they're trying to look for sympathy from the so-called black community of America, now all of a sudden they're black. Meanwhile, in the past, these people like kind of like shit on the so-called black community of America, making it seem as if the so-called black community was lazy in comparisons to them, or that the so-called black community was not as smart as them or not as savvy as them, and oh, look at how fast we get ahead in this country, like, but they're getting ahead by being boosted by fiscal aid or financial aid. And should America be helping immigrant communities, like, or communities of people that are entering into the country, or incentivizing for outsiders to be coming into America with the knowledge that once they enter into America, these illegal immigrants are going to be receiving financial benefits for doing such? And I mean, you'll sometimes hear the argument, well, should these people receive medical aid? I mean, I'm all for these people receiving medical aid if they have problems medically. But I also think that once they do receive medical aid, that they should, if they find that they're illegal immigrants, especially those that are taking advantage of the system, that they should be booted from the country. And the sanctuary cities make that um, the deporting of any sort of immigrants, whether that be violent, criminal, rapist immigrants. They make any sort of deportation operations um, really hard, and that's what you're seeing in Minneapolis now. I mean, the people that there's been reports of the people that are attempting to be apprehended by ICE agents in Minnesota, and these are like really bad people. It's not like they're just snatching up every Somalian, you know, foot off the streets. A lot of the people are, not like are Venezuelans that they're trying to deport. Like in the case of the ICE agents that shot at two people, husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend tandem in Minnesota recently after the unfortunate incident with Renee Good. Those people were alleged to be Trenderagua gang members. I believe the female part of that tandem, it was a woman and a man, was involved with a shooting um, in a whole different state before she was at her and her husband or boyfriend were apprehended by ICE agents. And in the case like that, like if they were a serial rapist or a murderer of sorts, um, like these people like in Minnesota that are stopping the flow of ICE operations happening, they're not gonna disseminate, whether this person is a bad person and shouldn't be in the country. They're gonna get in the way of every sort of operation. Same thing in New York City. I mean, like, I was actually on a channel discussing things of this of this nature. Um, and the person that one of the people that was on the panel was actually from my city, New York, and he was actually from Bed-Stuy, and he actually mentioned or alluded to the fact that, oh, I can't wait till the ICE agents come to Bed-Stuy, like, and how they were gonna stop them. But what, like with people like with mindsets like that, or because I don't think that panelist that was on YouTube with was probably gonna do anything of note if it came down to it. But with the Wokian or somebody from the woke mob, would they if ICE were to tell them outright, like, listen, like the person, like if ICE were doing operations in their city and ICE were to show them a warrant or tell them outright, listen, the person that we're chasing after is a serial, you know, um, life ender or a graper, would they then say like, oh well, like, go ahead and like apprehend them, we're cool, like we'll give you a pass, like, I'll tell the rest of the Wokian mob or the Antifa mob to fall back and not complicate your ICE operations. They would never do that. I mean, like a lot of these Wokian mob types are against any sort of deportation, just because. I mean, and scratch one layer down, and like they'll tell you. I mean, like they're against it because they think that Trump is pro deportations. So it's like, you have a like really tribalized country in America, or really large pockets of tribalized populations in the sanctuary cities that are just going to make it really hard for the executive, in this case Trump, to get his agenda off. Um, and it's unacceptable, honestly. Quite frankly, like the fact that these people are really radicalized politically at the mere mention of one person. I mean, like, it's a problem that America and Trump has to contend with. And if one of the mechanisms of trying to circumvent that or navigate a highly tribalized city like New York or Minneapolis or what have you, or a real radical population that live amongst us. Not everybody who's a liberal or hyper liberal is radicalized enough to, take it to the streets and get in the way of these operations. But if one of the tools in trying to navigate a really tribalized political situation in this country is to defund cities like New York and Minneapolis, I'm all for it. Listen, it's less money of less taxpayer money going into the direction of a bottomless woke pit. Some of these liberal cities are the most mismanaged, the most corrupt. I mean, like New York City is every day there's some sort of investigation on a city council member or some person from the mayor's cabinet who's involved in some sort of bribery. Same thing with Minnesota. I mean, like you had Crazy Hands Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, have to step down from a re-election bid because of the heat that was coming in his direction from the mismanagement at the very least, but probably outright corruption, that was happening in his state. So why should Trump allow federal money to go into these places that are basically financing illegal immigration to happen into America in general? I don't see it, and I'm all for the stopping of these funds going into the direction of these sanctuary cities. Let me get to my second topic. I think it was in the process of Trump meeting with these businessmen that I mentioned earlier, or I believe that he visited a lot of the automotive plants in the city of Detroit and Michigan. Um, but while he was at a Ford Motor plant taking the tour of the city, there was a sounded like a man who yelled out that he was a pedo protector, and I'm pretty sure that this has to do with the handling of the Epstein. And something I haven't really touched on as far as Epstein goes with this channel. I haven't touched on it much. I mean, like I guess and but what you are seeing like from the Trump administration, I don't think much of his base is happy with the rollout of the anything pertaining to Epstein. You could ask many conservatives, and they don't agree with what's happened thus far. They thought day one that there would be a massive drop in terms of things that happened with Epstein. But also, the liberal on the liberal side of the Epstein debate, you have a lot of them that are only gun ho about Epstein once Elon Musk mentioned that Trump may be on those lists, or their appetite for Epstein only has to do with Trump. Because I mean, if you look at what has been released, like the last drop or notable drop, there were a lot of photos that had Bill Clinton involved with Epstein in terms of like photos, like him in hot tubs, and that's always been alluded to that that Clinton was involved with Epstein, and even Trump has said that many liberals or Democrats that are have been involved with Epstein. But when it's shown to be proven that yes, Bill Clinton along with other liberals um have been involved with Epstein, you barely get any mention of it from anybody. It's see like these people like or we have to take note of the fact that Joe Biden was in office for 4 years, in addition to having majorities in Congress and Senate, and no mention of pressuring Joe Biden to release the Epstein files happened then. But that's just my short blur on, or my short blabbing on the Epstein situation as it pertains to Trump. But I think it's a double sided standard when what the emphasis is for Trump to do on Epstein. And I'm pretty sure that versus like, Biden or any other liberal to release Epstein or anything pertaining to Epstein. But also, one point that I did want to make was that if, for instance, there's a total release of everything pertaining to Epstein, and um, a lot of powerful Democrats were involved in it, I think it would, unless there was some sort of smoking gun with them doing, inappropriate actions, I think it would, like, they would not even mention it. I also have a theory that, at maybe for the primaries in 2026, what if the drops in regards to Epstein happened then, as a way for Trump or his candidates to, maybe have some sort of um, fuel, or to get over the hump in the primaries. I mean, like, as it pertains, like as it stands now, I do think that there's going to be trouble for the conservatives in the primaries. But I mean, like, if we saw, like, the only hope that I have is that, Trump is going to push for voter ID, or for a lot of liberal tricks to be done away with in pertaining to selections. But we'll see. But going back to what I was saying, with Trump visiting this auto plant, or Ford auto plant, um, earlier this afternoon, there was somebody who yelled out something to the president in regards to being a protector of the pedos or something like that. And Trump pointed at the individual and then proceeded to give him the middle finger. I actually saw the short video of it. They actually showed it on TMZ, funnily enough. And the photo that I uploaded for my thumbnail was from that video that I saw earlier. And do I frown upon Trump giving a voter the middle finger, or you know um, a citizen, who I could probably assume that this gentleman that was screaming at Trump is likely a citizen. Um, but do I agree that Trump gave him the finger? I don't care either way. Like, I mean, honestly, if I give the finger to tons of people, although I'm not the president, but I do like the fact that um, Trump is the kind of president that is willing to, say, that Iran better not f around, or Maduro better not f around, or that he gives some radical moron um, that's screaming at him from yards away the middle finger. Probably because he's tribalized um, into screaming at a president who's visiting his power plant. You know, and again, I mean, like, Joe Biden was the worst president in my lifetime, at least. Probably the worst president in history, and he visited places like that. How often did the radical MAGA base um, yell out inappropriate things to him, even though he's been alleged to be a partaker with kids at times, or to be inappropriate with women, you know. And I'm not saying that it's comparing the two bases. No, I'm just saying that, am I shocked or appalled that he has given the finger to somebody um, while taking a tour of a power plant? No, I don't care. I actually like it, honestly. But with that, I'm gonna keep this video short today. I have very little in terms of viewers as it currently stands, so I'm gonna head on out. With that, I hope you guys do like, share, subscribe my channel. Behold, as always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, and thank you for stepping into Behold for it is upon us. With that, peace.